We're on. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to be talking about all-out war right now because we are heading for all-out war. I'm talking about World War III. I'm talking about fighting on three fronts: Britain, Iran, and Ukraine. So listen, this is applicable to you guys as well if you guys live in the United States, because guess what? You guys are going to be the main contributor of these wars. But look, ladies and gentlemen, okay? I don't think most people are ready for what's about to happen. When I talk about a conflict in Ukraine, when I talk about a conflict in Iran, and when I talk about the conflict that is coming here on the streets in the United Kingdom, I'm pretty sure I'm the only person that puts all these three things together and say, look, they're not going to happen independently. They are going to happen simultaneously. Now, whenever you talk about Iran, you can't talk about Iran without talking about sleeper cells, right? Because those two things come hand in hand. Iran, sleeper cells, asymmetric warfare, those things are real. They're happening and it's a reality. I am going to save that one until the end because I've been talking about that quite a lot the last few live streams. But look, it doesn't make it any less dangerous because those things are happening. They're real as we speak. It's not even diesel, is it? Nuclear power is being burnt as the Americans push towards Iran. As I understand it, earlier on today, the U.S. strike carrier group, the Gerald R. Ford, was making his way through the Strait of Gibraltar. What does that mean? Well, first of all, it means they're getting closer to the strike point, right? Second of all, it kind of doesn't really matter because there's already enough infrastructure in that region for the United States to conduct whatever strike options they want. And look, let's be serious, guys, okay? The United States, they get to strike whatever they want. Why? Because they're the big boys in town. They've got all the guns, bombs, tanks, planes, trains, and automobiles. So I'm going to save talking about Iran towards the end of the live stream. Initially, I want to talk about the situation in Ukraine. I want to talk about the situation in the United Kingdom. And I guess the situation in Europe, because listen, unless you've been living in a cave, kind of not good at all, is it, guys? Hang on. So it's kind of not good at all if you're living in the United Kingdom, because we have been watching the normal everyday folk, the normal people who live a 9 till 5 existence. They get up in the morning, they go to work, they do their bits, they come back at 5:30, they cook the dinner for the kids at school, Monday to Friday. Saturdays they have off, Sundays they have a Sunday dinner, then they get ready to do it again on Monday, right? We've all been noticing something. So I'm going to talk about the United Kingdom. I'm going to talk about Ukraine, and then I'm going to talk about the situation in the Middle East, right? Let's be under no illusion. The situation in the Middle East is about to pop, guys. It really is. So so is the one in the United Kingdom, actually. If you live in the United Kingdom right now, there is no denying, absolutely no denying what is going on right now. Zero. There's zero denial of what's going on. It does feel like we are being led towards a civil war in the United Kingdom. Now, we have got masses, unbelievable masses of uncontrolled, unvetted, young fighting age men of Middle Eastern, African descent coming into the United Kingdom. That's the reality, guys, all right? If you want to go and look at the migrants that are coming over on the boats, it's not women and children, guys. It's not women and children at all. It's not. Let's not pretend it is. Let's stop that fallacy. Let's stop pretending, let your eyes tell you the truth. We have an unbelievable amount of young men heading into the United Kingdom. And look, I'll be clear. Many of these men will not be, I would say most of these men will not be sleeper cells per se. But what they will be is military trained men, because a lot of the countries that these men come from have some sort of mandatory military conscription. Oh, yeah, guess what? Guess just as a little throwback, guys. Because Britain is part of the ECHR, we cannot send any migrant back to a country that has conscription. Yeah, just thought I'd throw that out there for you guys, just in case anybody was under any illusion, right? If a country has mandatory military service, whatever they call it, conscription. A lot of African countries do, a lot of Middle Eastern countries do. If that is the case, then straight away you're not allowed to send those people back. It's against their human rights as per the ECHR, the European. It's fucking honestly, it's so ridiculous. It's like we're living in it's like we're living in a comedy. It really is, guys. It's like we're living in a comedy that's a parody of reality right now. So we have a situation in the United Kingdom where every day, I would say, more and more people turn up into the United. Look, guys, we are a net importer of migrants, right? There's no denying that. There are a phenomenal amount of young men that come to the United Kingdom every year. Phenomenal. The numbers are unbelievable, guys. They really are. I mean, you guys in America, you have big numbers, but per capita, as in proportionately, the United Kingdom absolutely dwarfs you guys. I remember seeing there was a video yesterday I watched actually. Sorry, guys, I'm sidetracking, but I think it's relevant. There was a video yesterday I watched on YouTube. It was about an American. He was on holiday in the United Kingdom and he was in York. Beautiful place, beautiful town, beautiful. Is it a city? I don't know. Is York a city? I don't know. Well, it's not got an airport, right? So it's a town. I don't know. Whatever. If anybody wants to argue, I don't care. York, right? North Yorkshire. So there was an American on holiday in North Yorkshire, and he's walking around. I think he's like a vlogger or something, and he heard a load of young men talking. He thought he didn't know whether they were talking Pakistani or Indian. Anyway, he walked up to them and he found out that they were Pakistanis. And he said, "Oh, right, hey guys, where are you from? I'm from America." And they got talking, and the young gentleman said, "Oh no, they're Pakistanis." All right, so they're talking. He said, "So how long have you been in the United Kingdom?" And they said, "Oh, we live here." And he said, "What?" He said, "Oh, we live here." He said, "Oh, how long have you lived here?" He said, "Oh, we were born here." And he said, "What?" He said, "Yeah, we were born here, but we are Pakistanis." So straight away, like I'm thinking, right? And look, whether you agree with this or not doesn't really matter. The context is, if you're a Pakistani, you're a Pakistani. You live in Pakistan, right? If you're British, you live in Britain. You follow, you do British shit. I don't think you can have both. And this American guy, I don't know if you guys have seen the video, and this American guy is going on and he's saying, how can you have a country, Britain, where people are born in your country? You know how he went on and he said he got talking to them and their parents were also born, a lot of them. I don't know if he got all of them, but he was saying, how can you have a country where people are born in this country, their parents are born in this country, but they consider themselves Pakistani or, whatever country you guys want to put that onto. Now, that's a very big problem. That's a very big problem because who are those people loyal to? Are they loyal to Britain, the British state, the taxpayer who's looked after them, who's given them liberal Western democracy? Or are they loyal to Pakistan, who they've probably never been there? Probably never. And the American guy was like fascinated how they still have Pakistani accents and they don't speak English. Because you would expect if your parents live in a country, right? Sorry, you would expect if your parents were born in a country, like for example, if I move to Ukraine, right? And our if I moved to Ukraine and I had children in Ukraine, you would expect those children to be Ukrainian, right? And then those children had children. So I'm now the granddad. you would expect those to be, is that like third or second generation? I don't know. But you would expect those children to speak Ukrainian, identify as Ukrainian, and be Ukrainian because they've known nothing else. But here in the United Kingdom, as per that video, and he was only talking about Pakistanis, so we can talk about Somalians, Eritreans, we can talk about all of the beautiful, beautiful nationalities that are in the United Kingdom. They're all beautiful, and they're all contributing lots to our society. Put in the chat what they're contributing, just so you can remind me. So that's the first context of, you know, sorry, I know I've gone a little bit down on a sidetrack. Right, what time are we on? Okay, so let's try and bring this together. So the first, so we are looking at conflicts on 3 different fronts, okay? The first front, if you live in the United Kingdom, we are going to be getting it the worst. I promise you. The Americans, those guys get it easy, right? The Americans are going to have it easy because they're only going to be fighting a conflict on one front. They're going to be fighting a conflict on the Middle Eastern front, right? And I will come on to that later. Britain, we are going to be fighting 3 wars simultaneously. First of all, like I'm just saying, you know, we have massive problems with diversity and culture and identity. I actually think this all gets encapsulated into identity, because if you don't all identify with the same thing, you will all argue, right? For example, I don't know. If you all go to Manchester High School, you all identify that you go to Manchester High School, right? Or whatever, it doesn't really matter. If you're playing a rugby game against, I don't know, Liverpool High School or whatever, you know, you are gonna Manchester High School are gonna unify and come together and work together to defeat, on the rugby field, Liverpool High School. Now, what the problem is, if you are Manchester Rugby Club or Manchester United High School Rugby Club or whatever, and half of your team identify as 2 of your team, because there's 15 on a team, right? 2 of your team identify as Surrey football players. 3 of your team identify as Newcastle badminton players. 4 of your team identify as, I don't know, Doncaster ice skaters. You know, you're never going to be able to come together as a unit because you've all got different ideas. So you're never going to be able to win Liverpool, right? And if Liverpool High School football club, rugby club or whatever, if they all identify with one identifying direction, drive and goals, they are going to win, right? That's the reality. So here in the United Kingdom, we are massively fractured, we are massively broken, we are massively destabilized, we are heading into crisis phase, right? So that's the first war that we are going to be fighting. And I think that's already started, guys. I do. I think that's already started. You've seen limited violent skirmishes break out. The Curry War in Manchester is the one I bring to everybody's attention because I keep laughing about it. Incidentally, I've just had a Thai red curry and it burnt my mouth out. I tried to get some cider when I came in, but the bottles were too... Am I on? Am I still on? Hang on, am I still on? Yeah. I tried to get some cider when I first came in here, but the bottles were too fizzy, so my mouth is burning like a schmurny. Hang on, give me a second. So the second conflict we need, so that's a given, right? We are going to have at some point a civil war. I don't think there's any way around this, guys. You know, a civil war in the United Kingdom. Now, it's not going to be a civil war in the context of us versus them. It's going to be a context of fucking carnage and chaos, because all hell's going to break loose. People are going to tribalize. People, and that's a bad thing. It is, guys. It's a bad thing because we won't be looking at people on merit. we will be looking at people on individual, individual identifiable, individual identities, right? Okay, so right, do you look like me or not? Yes, right. Okay, we can be friends then. We can be friends. Not just me talking about it now. There are many people. It's become mainstream that the United Kingdom is heading towards some civil conflict, and it's not going to be very civil. It's going to be uncivil. I don't know I don't know how that's going to end. I did an analysis on this, and I said my bottom end analysis for death toll of a civil war in the United Kingdom is 2.1 million. You're looking at around 35,000 people a year being killed. That's kind of where you're going, guys. They're the numbers you're looking at. Right. So we've got that context, right? Well, remember, ladies and gentlemen, the crux of this live stream to you fine people. And listen, ladies and gentlemen, if you guys are on and you've not done so already, please make sure you like, comment, subscribe, all those things that help this channel grow. Literally, those buttons down below, ladies and gentlemen, it really helps me out. So we are talking this evening about all-out war. And look, guys, I'm going to put it to each and every one of you. You're not ready. You are not ready. I'm not ready. Nobody's ready for what's about to break out. The United Kingdom is going to be fighting on three fronts. We just spoke about the British front, right? I want to talk about the Ukraine front right now, because I don't know if you guys have been watching the news, but the Ukraine, you know when it goes silent? Yeah, it goes silent because they don't want you guys to know. Because the Ukrainians, beyond, the Ukrainians, they've run out of men, basically. The Ukrainians have run out of men. That's the problem. They don't have any men left. As the war continues, people are starting to understand that the Russians are really serious. They are really serious. They're like really serious players now. And the Russians understand that you've got to understand when this war started in, the war in Ukraine started in 2014, right? When the 2022 invasion happened, lots of people in Russia were like massively against this conflict. Absolutely, guys. They were massively against this conflict. As the wars dragged on and times moved forwards, the Russians, the normal everyday folk in Russia, they understand now that if they don't win this war, it's the end for Russia. And I don't think I still don't think most people understand that. And I'm pretty confident actually that most people on the mainstream don't understand that, because listen, let's just face it. Most people on the mainstream, your news reporters on the mainstream, we love those news reporters on the mainstream. They just read words off a screen. That's all they do. They get a teleprompter and they read those words. They don't really understand the meaning behind those words. Excuse me. So the Russians, normal everyday folk in Russia, they understand now that if they don't win this war, it's going to be an end for them. And guess what? If you're Russian, you don't want it to be an end for you. That's how it works, right? You don't want an end to your way of life. Unless you're in Britain, then you pay for that end to your way of life. Yeah, we do, don't we? We are paying for the end. Like, can you imagine the scenario? Like, can you imagine, like, and I've said this a few times, can you imagine in 2003, right? When Blair and Bush were planning the invasion of Iraq. Can you imagine, right? If just before the invasion, Tony Blair or Bush, whatever they said, whoa, hang on a minute. Just hear me out. And George Bush like, what is it, TB? Come on, man, we got to send those tanks. And TB's like, hear me out, George, hear me out. What if, and I know this is crazy, but it's so crazy it just might work. What if we send all our soldiers slowly into Iraq as refugees, and then we get the Iraqi government to put them up in hotels and feed them and give them 3 meals a day while we invest all our soldiers? God damn it, Tony Blair! That plan's so cunning you could stick a tail on it and call it a fox. No, I actually think it might work. God damn it! Well, let's try it with 1,000 Marines. So they send 1,000 Marines into Iraq. Oh God, is it going to work? I don't know. They go in. Holy shit, Tony Blair, it actually works. I can't believe those Iraqis actually paying for our soldiers in their own hotels. God damn it, they're even giving them human rights and all sorts of shit. Oh my God, John Boy's even had his dental work done. I couldn't get that to him. Oh, what the hell? Let's send another 1,000. Like, at what point would you stop? You would keep saturating that ground, wouldn't you, until you had more men than you needed to do the job. Anyway, sorry guys, jumping back to the conflict in Ukraine. The Russians now understand that for the Russians, if Europe wins, what does a win mean? I don't know. But if the Europeans win, the Russians know that it's the end for Russia. It's the end. It's done. It's over. Likewise, the Europeans know if they can't defend Ukraine, it's over for the European Union. That's what's at stake here, guys. That's what's at stake here right now. And nobody seems to even consider this. Nobody even seems to consider that the amount of money that's being frozen by Russian by the European Union, the amount of Russian money that's being frozen by the European Union. And look, guys, whether that money is stolen or not, I think it's probably more than likely stolen. I still don't think you should take people's money. You don't fuck about with people. Listen, maybe this is just me. When you're in the army, right, and you're doing your career courses, right, and you're learning man management, 3 things you don't fuck about with. You just leave them alone. You never touch them. You never touch these 3 things, guys, all right? You never fuck around with people's pay. You never fuck around with people's time off. And you never fuck around with people's food. Everything else is fair game, right? Everything else is fair game. So taking people's money, for me, that's a step beyond, right? And you've got to understand how the Russian oligarchs are. So now you've got this situation in Russia where you've got all these Russian oligarchs. I don't know what their names are. Probably Yuri or something. Initially, they will have been telling Putin, Vladimir, do not destroy, do not send Orishnik. No, I have 12 billion in the Russian hotel in Belgium. Don't send missile. Yes, but I need to send missile to destroy capitalist pig. Yes, but I have 200 million in hotel complex in Belgrade. So those oligarchs will have been holding Putin back initially, right? Guess what happens? As soon as you take the oligarchs' money and give it to the Ukrainians to destroy Russia, those oligarchs are going to be pissed. And guess what? Those oligarchs will be pushing land pirates into Europe at some point. Every time Zelensky comes to the United Kingdom, he gets a good handshake. Oh, sorry, is that handshake? Bike it. I don't know what else they do in number 10. Maybe they do gay stuff. I don't know. I'm not judging, guys. If they do gay stuff, that's up to them. But every time Zelensky comes to the United Kingdom, he gets handshakes. He gets pats on the back. Everybody loves him. He's like a rock star. he always leaves with like an extra billion or something, doesn't he? Like $1 billion of UK taxpayers' money. I mean, he's a great salesman, right? He's a great salesman. Every time he gets off the plane, that's like probably five. Like it'd be interesting to think like how many hours he spent in the United Kingdom and how much money he got. I think he's up there with the world's like most fantastic businessmen. I mean, Bill Gates, Elon Musk. See how many hours Zelensky spends in the United Kingdom and then how much money he gets for it. So that's like his hourly rate. So Britain's steadfast commitment to Ukraine is ironclad. That's what they always tell us, right? The steadfast commitment to Ukraine is absolutely ironclad. We have 100-year agreement of $3 billion a year at least into Ukraine. I think there's a lot darker things happening here, guys. I think there's going to be a situation in Ukraine where the Ukrainians lose, but a very small part of Ukraine gets to hold on to their sovereignty, and we keep paying them $3 billion a year. Very small part of Ukraine, right? Very small part of Ukraine is going to be kept, and we are going to keep paying that very small part of Ukraine. Mark my words, ladies and gentlemen. Mark what I'm saying right now. Write this down in a little notebook. If and when Ukraine falls, there will be a little area of Ukraine that doesn't fall. And they're going to say, oh, look, this is the autonomous region of Ukraine. You've taken the whole of Ukraine. This is just our bit. And it's probably going to be in the south near the Carpathian Mountains. A beautiful area, by the way. And then there's going to be a certain amount of people, a very small amount of people who live there, who you may look at them and you may think they're not Ukrainians. But the British government will have already pledged £3 billion per year to Ukraine. So guess what? This tiny little region now don't need to worry about money. We're good. We don't need to worry about money anymore. And all the rest of international aid that gets poured into there. Guys, you have no idea the length, the breadth and depth of this conspiracy that's happening right now. It's so phenomenal. And then we look at the final conflict that we are going to be fighting. The final conflict that we are going to be fighting, ladies and gentlemen, is Iran. And if you guys don't think we are... Oh, hang on a minute. Googleinos is saying bombs reports across Paris. Right, give me a second, guys, and I'll just jump straight onto this. Right, let me jump up now. I'll share this with you guys. Bomb threat in Paris as major landmarks evacuated by police. According to reports, several emails were sent to various authorities involving threats to blow up various emails, various places, various places in Paris as a number of buildings in the French capital are evacuated. I can only assume this is Norwegian fishermen. Several buildings have been evacuated in Paris due to bomb threats were sent to various authorities which contained threats to blow up various locations. Very vague. According to social media reports, the police have cordoned off areas as security teams sweep and search. Local authorities have also reportedly urged people to avoid the 15th arrondissement, I think that's the word, arrondissement, where the skyscraper is located. Science Pro Paris is among the places affected. So it does look like there's an ongoing incident in Paris, guys, where there's been a number of bomb threats. I'm just scrolling down this now to see if I can get any more information, and I cannot. National headquarters have been evacuated. So there's been lots of places. Okay, so as we know, as I'm speaking right now, ladies and gentlemen, there have been multiple locations evacuated. There have been multiple locations in Paris evacuated as per a bomb threat. Hang on. Let me just have a quick look on X. Right, bomb threat Paris. French television headquarters was recently evacuated following a possible bomb threat. Footage shows the TV host being erupted live on air. Right, let's watch this. Let's watch this. Right, we're going to watch this, guys. Give me a second. We're going to watch this together. I don't think this is controversial.
De l'Ukraine aussi ces dernières heures, qui attendent l'épreuve. De l'Ukraine aussi ces dernières heures, qui attendent l'épreuve.
So, okay, I don't know what they're saying, but it looks like they're talking to Volodymyr Zelensky. I thought, okay, whatever. So, as you can hear in the background, there is a bomb. I think that's a bomb siren or something. So let's see what happens.
De l'Ukraine aussi ces dernières heures, qui attendent l'épreuve. Pour couper court aussi à beaucoup d'interrogations sur qui pourrait être derrière ceci.
Voilà, on va être obligé d'interrompre notre antenne en raison d'une alerte à la bombe. Voilà.
À la bombe, Alabama. I heard Alabama. I don't know what that means, guys, but I think there is a bomb.
Donc, on va rendre l'antenne et rester avec nous sur France Info.
So that's the right, and then there's a little map here. There's a little map here of what else happened. So I think these are the locations where the I don't know. I'm assuming these are the locations where the bombs are, but it does look like there's an ongoing situation. Listen, this could be a hoax. It could be a hoax. Or it could be a come on. So there's a couple of things I'm looking at here. First of all, if this is a come on, so what a come on would be is like, right, okay, let's say there's a bomb threat in the BBC, whatever, or in Paris, I don't know, FBC or whatever it's called, the French Broadcasting Company. Let's say there's a bomb threat there, right? You send in a credible bomb threat. Everybody comes out of that building because, oh no, there's a bomb threat. Guess what? Outside, waiting for them is a little surprise. Let me see if I can find any more information. Right, listen, guys, if you're joining for the first time, I'm just going through now the information that's just been given to me that there is a bomb threat in Paris. There's been several reports of bomb threats in Paris. I don't think there's any information of an explosion yet. Lots of places evacuated. Right, I'm going to leave that there for now. If there's any more updates on that, guys, I'll be straight back. I'll be straight back at you, fam. If there's any more information on that. So where was we going? So Iran, right? We was talking about Iran. So listen, guys, if you're joining us for the first time, I'm talking about the all-out war, I guess, that we are heading to right now, and there's no denying it. You can't argue with this. Three fronts Britain is going to be fighting. The first front is going to be the home front. We're going to be fighting a war in the United Kingdom. This is going to be some sort of civil war. This is going to be some sort of us versus them war. I just touched on that briefly. There's going to be the Ukraine conflict because remember, Britain's support for Ukraine is ironclad. It's ironclad and it's everlasting. And listen, whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, it's up to you guys to decide. That is real. That's what they've said. Consecutive government after government. And then we've got Iran. We have got Iran. So right now in Iran, the Iranians are clearly bolstering their defenses as the United States moves closer with their strike carrier groups. Right, guys, give me a second and let me just get some comments. Actually, I'm conscious of the time and I've been neglecting you guys on the comments. David O'Rourke is saying Nikolai Patrushev, Assistant to President Vladimir Putin, attempts to impose a blockade on Russia are illegal under international law. He warns diplomacy fails, the Russian fleet will. What will the Russian fleet do? Look, guys, I'm gonna let you guys into something, right? There's no such thing as international law. No such thing at all as international law. It doesn't exist. Does not exist. So, okay, the best example of international law, right, is Keir Starmer saying that the United States are not allowed to use UK air bases to conduct offensive operations in Iran because it may break international law. First of all, right, before I get into that, who's the international police? Where are the international laws written? What, like, does every country abide by international law? Like, and if not, why is Keir Starmer not pushing on, like, Democratic Republic of Congo that's not democratic and it's not a republic? So why is Keir Starmer not pushing on DRC, for using child labor, in cobalt mines? Why is Keir Starmer not doing that? I don't know. So when David O'Rourke, on the screen here is saying, attempts to impose a blockade on Russia are illegal under international law. There's no such thing as international law. The only thing with regards to international law is who's got more tanks and who's got more ships. And guess what? Whoever's got more tanks and whoever's got more ships, they're kind of the ones that deal with international law. Oh, hang on. International law only exists in a time of peace, not war. It comes from a resolution of major conflict. You see, even in peacetime, I've seen certainly things that you would think, yeah, you kind of can't do that. For example, David Cameron what year was it? I can't remember well. Whenever David Cameron was Prime Minister, so like we're going back a while now, right? Whenever David Cameron was Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, David Cameron held a secret meeting with his defense chiefs, and they sent drone strikes to send to the candy shop some Welsh boys that had gone out to Syria, right? You guys know what I'm talking about. You know, the Welsh boys, the native Welsh boys. Oh, all right, Sean. Where are we going for a beer? Do you want to go for a beer, Sean? No, you come up to Clondalkin. You got to go to Clondalkin, then the valleys. We go for a right beer. It's a right knees up it is, I tell you. So, to me, that was violation of international law. But it turns out, if you're a first world nation, you can violate international law. It's only third world nations who have to stick to it. Gerald of Riviera, Gerald of Riviera. Sorry, I was totally missing that wrong. Gerald of Riviera is saying Israel is America's biggest ally, apparently. Just look at the number of troops they sent to Afghanistan, the stolen plutonium, and USS Liberty, if you want proof. Yeah, the USS, I don't know if you guys know this or not. I don't know about the plutonium, mate. Can you give me more context about the plutonium? I don't know what I don't know about the plutonium. I don't know about the plutonium. But the USS Liberty, for those of you guys who don't know, this was I think it's decommissioned. I'm pretty sure it's decommissioned now. This was a US aircraft carrier that was attacked by the Israeli Air Force, and nothing happened. Literally nothing happened. The Israeli Air Force attacked that for maybe like a couple of hours, and there was a lot of Americans that went to the candy shop, and like nobody talks about that. Tim Linsky is saying we just need to be ready, people. People and family think I've gone mad. I've seen this world, 18 years infantry. I'd say I'm an expert. Yeah, look, guys, if you live on the, like, this is going to affect everyone, right? If you live in the United Kingdom right now, whatever you want to call it, whether you want to call it civil war, uncivil war, civil conflict, civil unrest, doesn't really matter. The outcome is going to be the same, and it's absolutely coming. Right, listen, guys, I really need to run to the toilet. Can you give me like less than a minute to run to the toilet because I'm dying for a wee? Literally, hold there, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to come back. I'm going to talk about Iran. I've got I've got like an infographic to share with you guys on how Iran are fortifying their locations. So literally, give me like less than 1 minute. I'll be right back. We're back, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for hanging around with me. So we are talking about the all-out war that is coming. We're talking about World War III. We're talking about war on our streets. We're talking about a war in Iran, and we are talking about a war in Ukraine. And that's not even to mention the little skirmishes that are going to break out potentially between India and Pakistan, Pakistan and Afghanistan. Where else? We got China and Taiwan. Maybe even Australia is going to get dragged into that. And maybe Vietnam and Cambodia, all sorts of countries are going to be at loggerheads with each other. At some point, there will be a spark and everything's going to go absolutely swizzling. So what I'm going to do, guys, I just want to talk. I'm totally going, right, I'm totally going over on time here. So where is it? Is it that one? Give me a second. Is it that one? Right. So I want to share with you guys now a Sky News article on how Iran is preparing. So let me just share this with you because it's got a really good infographic. So how Iran might be preparing itself for a potential US strike. So let's go down. Where is it? There we are. Can I make that right? Okay. So if you guys look at this, can you see that picture? Yeah. Okay. So this picture here, all right, that I'm sharing with you guys, and I'll move the cursor in a second. But this is a picture of, okay, so that's before, right? So if you guys look at that picture, that is before hardening, before the reinforcements. So now I'm going to move this cursor up. So that's a before picture, right? So if I'm going to move this cursor, if you guys look right in the center, you guys can see the little, like you can see the entrance there, can't you, in the center? Right in the center, you guys can see that entrance. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this cursor and you'll see that it's been covered up. Can you see that now, how that's been absolutely covered up with concrete, dirt, backfill, bulldozers, all the rest of it, Can you see? Can you see the difference right there in the middle, guys? So just above where the circle is now, right there where I'm on. I'm going to push it to the left. So that's before. And that's after. You guys can see the whole load of earth that's being placed on that location, right? So the Iranians right now are absolutely digging in. Literally, they are digging in. The Iranians understand, like the rest of us do, that we are on a one-way trek right now. We're on a one-way trek. And look, when I talk about Iran, this is going to be another crux in the United Kingdom, because you can't talk about the conflict in Iran without talking about sleeper cell activation in the United Kingdom. And I've done that to death, guys. I really have. Now, what I keep wanting to say to everybody is, if and when this happens, and I think it's a, like when this happens, right? If you live in the United Kingdom, the likelihood of sleeper cell activation, lone wolf attacks, people with mental health, and all sorts of stuff going stabby, stabby, rammy, rammy, shooty, shooty, blowy, blowy. That likelihood jumps up exponentially. It absolutely does, guys. And there's no arguing there. That absolutely does. Oh, hang on a minute. Lisa Jane is saying, Lisa Jane, are you sat on your thumbnail? Are you sat on a Chesterfield chair? I think I've got one similar to that in my house. Lisa Jane is saying, GB News pressure builds on PM over Chagos chaos. Deportation of 4 Chagosians from the island has been blocked by a judge. Okay, so what happened here is, and it's a bit wild, right? So as international law or Chagosian law is, the Chagosians, right? The people from the Chagos Islands, they can live on any of those islands, right? So what they did is, 4 Chagosians, people from Chagos, they went to another island and just said, yeah, we're just going to live here now. We're going to have this. It was only I think it was more of a publicity stunt than anything. Then the British military came in and said, no, you're off. And it's fascinating to me, right? It's absolutely fascinating to me that Britain, the British Navy, can stop people in the Chagos Islands, which is thousands and thousands of miles away. Turns out the British Navy, when they want to, they can stop people going onto islands and settling. So who would have thought? But yeah, this whole chaos, guys, I don't know. Genuinely, I don't know what's going on with this Chagos Islands. It was on, it was off, it was on, it was off. Trump says he's agreed with it. Then he hasn't. It makes no sense to me. Right now, I'm in total I'm in a total swizzle with this, guys. Rod Panhard is saying the silver price is rocketing. Shanghai is closed for Chinese New Year, and this is usually when the West smacks the price down with paper derivatives. Must be a Senate tariff decision. Look, guys, if you're going to buy anything, right? Look, this is not financial advice, all right? I am definitely not qualified. I'm definitely not qualified to give anyone financial advice, all right? This is just advice. This is not... Go and speak to a financial advisor, right? If you're thinking about spending money on something, right? First thing, make sure your vehicle is ready. Make sure your vehicle, you can get in that vehicle right now and just go. Whether that means you need to put extra tires on it, whether that means you've got an oil filter or whatever, make sure your vehicle is always ready to go. Unless you've been in those situations where you depend on your vehicle and nothing else, you're kind of just going to pay lip service to it, right? You're not going to listen. And I get that. I totally get that. Like if I said to you guys, make sure your vehicle is always topped up, probably not going to listen, right? If you use your vehicle every day, you're probably not going to listen. And I get that. What I will say is, if you're wanting to spend your money on something, your vehicle, your bug out means is the number one priority. That should be your number one priority. Your second priority, or maybe third or fourth or something, if you've got that spare, if you've got an amount of spare finances, I've been saying, silver coins for me are a good go-to. Now, I wouldn't be, if I bought silver coins, I wouldn't be buying them as a, you know, as an investment. I would be buying them as something I could use as a commodity, right? Because if everything collapses and everything fails, which I do think cash will still be a tender for an amount of time. But if everything collapses, everything fails, you're going to need something to trade with, right? And I get it. You know, I get it. You guys want to put your money in shares. You want to buy Bitcoin and shares in the stock market. And that, listen, if you know what you're doing, go for it, right? Who am I to tell you what to do? For me, if you have something physical, if you have something tangible that you can hold, you've got more chance of being able to trade with it, right? Imagine the scenario, right? Imagine the scenario. Britain 2028. Britain 2028. Rachel Reeves is still coming. Rachel Reeves has done her next budget and she's saying, yes, Britain now has a £500 billion black hole. We need to raise taxes, right? Marauding gangs, Mad Max style. You know, people are fighting over diesel and petrol. If you need to go and trade with someone, right, and you say, oh, well, I can give you some Bitcoin, and they say, okay, give it me then. And you say, oh, well, I haven't got internet connection, but I've got loads, and I promise you, if you give me that food and water, I promise you, when I get internet, when I get home, I will transfer you some Bitcoin. And the guy says, how do you transfer the Bitcoin? And then he says, oh, you've got to get like one of these online apps, and it's just not going to work, right? If you've got some silver coins, you can make that barter, right? You can make that trade. Right, guys, there's loads of comments. I'm just going to jump down to the bottom. KTIC is saying, if I was a powerful alien, listen, KTIC, if you want to identify as a powerful alien, go for it. I would have poked Starmer in the chest and said, come on, man. If you don't chuck us out now, my mates are coming and getting at Pish Hotel. You know what? I was going to do a video earlier on TikTok, but I just didn't have time. I was going to do a video earlier and I was going to say, breaking news, ladies and gentlemen. You know, I was going to do breaking news, everyone. In the response to Donald Trump saying that aliens, you know, releasing UFO data, it turns out Keir Starmer's made an announcement and he said, aliens are welcome, UFOs are welcome, and you know we're gonna have to raise taxes to put those aliens in hotels in the United Kingdom. Hang on a minute. David O'Rourke is saying hundreds of troops have been evacuated from Al Udeid Air Base in Qatar. So Al Udeid Air Base is in Qatar. Pentagon officials say. So Al Udeid Air Base is right within. Excuse me. The Al Udeid Air Base is right within striking distance of Iran. It's just over the Persian Gulf, maybe like less than 100 kilometers. Irish, Ital-Irish bro is saying, Trump announced today that he has the right under law to unilaterally blockade anyone at any time. Essentially, he's declared himself sovereign over foreign invaders. Do you know what the thing is, guys? I don't know if you guys were on earlier. Earlier on, I was talking about international law, right? I said international law is bullshit. And it is. If you have the world's biggest military, the world's most ferocious army, by tonnage and by capacity, the world's biggest navy, if you also have the world's biggest air force and the world's second biggest air force, you kind of have the right to do whatever you want. And all these little bits of international law, right, here, let me give you this scenario, right? Let me give you this scenario, right? So, I don't know. So you've got, you've got Keir Starmer, right? Because we all know that Keir Starmer is a fantastic lawyer. He was one of the finest legal minds this country's ever seen. He knows the law, right? He knows the law. So you've got Keir Starmer, right, on one side of an island, right, with his international law. I don't even know where I can see international law. Makes no sense to me, but whatever. Keir Starmer's got his book of international law, right? On the other side of the island, there's Donald Trump with, I don't know, 1,000 US Marines, 82nd Airborne, 100 F-22 Raptors, 100 F-35 Lightnings, 50 B-2 stealth bombers, and a load of spaceship we don't even know, right? Who's gonna win that argument? You know, Keir Starmer says, you can't come on this island because of international law. Look, it says here at clause 2.4. And then Donald Trump's like, yeah, but look at all my tanks and shit. So just like Tipex that bit out and fuck off. You know, it doesn't really matter. International laws, like, it's so irrelevant, guys. It doesn't even, it's embarrassing. Right, listen, ladies and gentlemen, I'm conscious of the time. You see, the US doesn't lose wars, guys. The US doesn't lose. The US military does not lose wars. They don't lose wars. I'll talk about Afghanistan because that's the one that everyone can remember, right? Afghanistan is the one everyone can remember. The problem with Afghanistan is politicians. So US military went into Afghanistan, defeated the Taliban, took everyone to the candy shop. They made everyone surrender, right? That's the reality. Then they propped up the economy. They tried to give them democracy. They weren't ready. And at some point, they needed to leave. Biden made an absolutely disastrous decision by leaving through Kabul. Jesus Christ. That was the worst decision anyone could have ever made. If you think of Afghanistan, you think of Kabul. Maybe, I don't know, maybe like 30 kilometers north of Kabul, there's an airbase called, what's it called? What's the airbase called north of Kabul? I should know. Bagram. There's an airbase just north of US-controlled airbase. Just as, you know, the airfield is just as big as Kabul. Easily defensible, right? Under no circumstances in any withdrawal do you withdraw the military first. That is an absolute recipe for disaster, guys. Like, I don't know what those guys were thinking. No idea what they were thinking. Like, can you imagine, right? Can you imagine, like, you're there, all the military are there, protecting the women and children behind them, and they say, right, we need to evacuate. Evacuate the military first. It's absurd. It is absolutely absurd. So the US didn't lose any war in Afghanistan. The politicians led them towards that. You know, and a good analogy of this is what's happening in the United Kingdom. Our own military is being emasculated. It's being absolutely emasculated year after year, cuts after cuts, until in fact, you know what? I would say right now, in fact, we do. Right now, we have more migrants in hotels than we have soldiers in barracks. So that doesn't seem like a good thing, does it? That seems like a recipe for disaster. Googleinos is saying 2 C-17 Globemaster 3 aircraft are en route to the Middle East carrying troops and equipment. Okay, look, guys, I've said this is going to happen. I've said this is going to happen many times. I don't know where they're going to, I don't know where they're going to land. I would say, okay, first of all, I'm going to tell you things I've said previously, all right? The proximity of RAF Akatiri in that region is key. Now, the RAF Akatiri is not just an airbase. You can house troops there. So you can get you can land those troops on C-17s or whatever, get those troops out, put them into barracks. You can feed them. You can water them. You can let them do battle prep. If you guys think about POPSO, protection, ammunition, weapons, I don't know, whatever the rest of it is. You can do all that battle preparation in RAF Akatiri en masse for thousands of troops. That's why RAF Akatiri is there, right? It's the base of the Middle East. So as Googling us is saying there, C-17 Globemaster 3 aircraft are en route to the Middle East, carrying troops and equipment. They can carry a lot of troops, guys, and a lot of equipment. Female SAS, not even real. Who's saying there's women in the SAS? That's gay. David King is saying Canada to use Afghanistan tactics when USA invades. I don't think the US are going to invade Afghanistan. Side quest. Oh, I love the side quest, guys. Raven loves the side quest. If we do get aliens landing, can they give common sense to our leaders? Well, they can try, but they probably won't listen. No Good Deals is saying they left $1 billion worth of weapons behind. I think it was more than that. I think it was like, wasn't it like $80 billion worth of weapons they left behind? Like, and do you know what I heard as well? Who do I know? So I've got a friend. I can't say that. I can't say that, ladies and gentlemen. I can't say that. Holly is saying Britain used to be a top-notch military. We did, guys. We used to be a top-notch military. Now we are a shadow of our former self, scraping behind. Our soldiers are scraping to stay out of jail for crimes that they did not commit 30, 40, maybe even 50 years ago. It's unbelievable, guys. It really is unbelievable. Rod Panhard, and I think he's probably true as well. Rod Panhard is saying the Taliban now has more Apache gunships than Europe does. Listen, I don't deny that. I think I saw a statistic saying if the Taliban could manage to get the aircraft, look, they're never going to get those flying right. They're just going to rot. But if the Taliban managed to get those things to work, the aircraft, they would have like the world's 7th biggest air force, which I think is pretty phenomenal. Right, give me a second, guys. Let me check this bomb threat thing. Because, listen, if you guys are joining us for the first time, there's been a huge bomb threat all over Paris. So let me just refresh this and see if there's any more news on that. Give me a second. No, doesn't look like there's any news on X. Let me just go back here. Give me a second. 40 minutes ago. Paris Live, Eiffel Tower and Montparnasse Tower bomb threat sparks evacuations. People have reportedly been told to avoid the areas. Montparnasse Tower in Paris has been evacuated due to reported bomb alert. According to social media reports, police have cordoned off the area as security teams sweep the landmark. Local authorities have reportedly urged people to avoid the area. Yeah, no kidding. That's all we're getting at the moment. Now, I'm worried that this could be a come on for either something later on tonight. Remember, guys, it's a Friday. Bad things happen on a Friday. Why? Lots of reasons. But this could be a come on right now. So what you would do normally with a come on, I think we saw this when there was the evacuation of the US Embassy in London. Big evacuation of the US Embassy in London, and it was a hoax, right? It was a hoax. So what happens is on that hoax, people will be watching. People will be looking where those people go to People will be looking at the safe areas. People will be looking where they're evacuated to and where they're coming from, and they will then try and infiltrate that for a later attack. Now, if you put this into the context of what's happening in Paris right now, so for those guys who don't know, there's a bomb threat in Paris right now. So for those guys who don't know, bomb threat in Paris, I've just spoken about it. When one of these things happen, whether it's a hoax or whether it's or whether it's a real, or whether it's a real event, has to be treated like it's a real event, because there could be somebody sat outside whatever that building is, right? Just whatever picture a public building wherever you live, right? Wherever you live, picture a public building, right? So all you need to do is send a bomb threat to that public building or whatever, and then, have somebody sat outside with a video, with a camera phone, recording what's happening. Nothing illegal about that, guys. Nothing illegal about that. Absolutely nothing. But what happens is you gather all that information on how long it takes to evacuate those people, where those people are evacuated to. Are there any coaches? How long it takes to get the emergency services to get there? Where the bomb disposal comes from? Where the dog teams come from? Where they go to? And you can build a picture up. So if you want to do an attack another time, guess what? You know where people are going to go. And in Northern Ireland, they did this quite successfully. So they would have a primary device and a secondary device. And historically, these things happen quite a lot. You would, like, maybe 2 years ago, you have a hoax bomb threat at a shopping center, right? Or whatever. Security forces to services come, they evacuate everyone and they move them a certain direction, right? And you think, everybody gets moved up there. So then you have a secondary device up there. So in 2 years' time, once you've done your planning, you have the real event, a real bomb at that event, chaos, carnage, people worrying, people trying to do their best. You then move people up a corridor, up an alleyway, down a street, and guess what? There's a secondary device down there. So you maximize on your casualties, you maximize on the chaos, and you maximize on the carnage. I think genuinely, guys, those things are coming to the United Kingdom very soon. Right, listen, guys, I am going to start to close this down. You guys are fantastic as always. You guys have got some fantastic insight. You're beautiful. You're great. You're fantastic. We are looking at all-out war in the world very soon. It's going to be World War III, and I can guarantee you're not ready. You're never going to be ready. No one is ever going to be ready. Doesn't matter what state of readiness you are in, nobody is ever going to be ready, right? There's going to be fighting on 3 fronts. The 3 fronts are going to be, people are going to be fighting on the streets in Britain, given it's almost, it's happening now, right? It's happening now. There's going to be the war in Iran. Does anybody think the war in Iran, it's not going to happen? I'm kind of talking about things that have not happened yet in the pretext. And then we've got the conflict in Ukraine, which is dragging more and more people into this every day. Remember, guys, okay? Britain has signed a 100-year agreement with Ukraine. I'm going to do a short video on this. I'm going to do a short video on this because I think Ukraine is going to be condensed into a very little area. And then that little area is going to be like either Monaco or Luxembourg. It's going to be a very small area. And we're still going to give them $3 billion a year. I think that's what's coming, guys. I do. I think that's what's coming. Right. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, you guys are fantastic. I am going to close this down. Max is saying, sorry, you don't have guns. No, we don't. Unfortunately, we don't have guns. It's going to be like clubs and bats and all sorts of crazy schnizzles. Right, guys, I'm going to go. I'm going to be back on tomorrow morning at 10. Let's see what's happened over the last 24 hours, the last like 12 hours or whatever. Remember, it is a Friday. There's some crazy stuff developing in France. And remember, the United States are within striking distance now of Iran. So that could go in late tonight, tomorrow morning. Who knows? But we're living in wild times, ladies and gentlemen. So I bid you good evening. I'll see you in the morning.